All right, buckle up, word lovers, because today we're going deep, and I mean deep, into the wild world of Hungarian.
Seriously, you guys requested this one, and let me tell you, as soon as I started looking into it, I was like, whoa, we're in for a ride. Did you know, for example, that even the compass directions in Hungarian have their own story?
It's true, they're based on the position of the sun. It gives you a sense of how intertwined the language is, even just from that, with the natural world and observing the world around them.
Okay, my mind is already a little bit blown, and we're just getting started. Let's do this.
First off, we've got to talk about Hungarians, like family tree, and trust me, it is not who you think.
It is a really interesting story, actually. It's really a journey because Hungarian, if you imagine its linguistic relatives being way out in Siberia, it's an epic cross-continental road trip over thousands of miles to get to where it is now.
Siberia. Are you serious? Okay, hold on. You said these relatives are named Mansi and Kanti. What is the story there for those of us who, weren't paying attention in history class? Give me the Spark Notes version.
Yeah, so basically these languages, alongside Hungarian, belong to this family called the Uralic languages. It's basically like a giant family reunion, but for languages, right?
Yeah.
And just like families, you know that they share common ancestors.
Okay.
They inherit certain traits.
So think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how in English, sometimes there are words that sound strangely familiar to, like a Spanish word or a French word?
Yeah.
That's because way, way, way back, they shared a common ancestor language.
So like mountain, kind of. Sounds like Montana.
Exactly, yeah. And so in the same way, Hungarian has these little linguistic echoes in common with these languages, Mansi and Kanti, that suggest the shared history. And yet, look at them on a map. They are thousands of miles apart.
That's so cool. So if these languages are so far apart, how did linguists figure that out? Like, did they find ancient postcards or something?
Well, not quite postcards, but we have these linguistic breadcrumbs, shared words, grammatical structures that help us kind of like piece together this historical movement of people and cultures. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle where we're trying to put all the pieces together.
Okay, I love a good puzzle.
Yeah.
So give me some of these breadcrumbs. What are some examples of these shared words?
One compelling example is the word for house, right? Super basic word. In Hungarian, it's ház, which, if you listen closely, actually has a very similar sound to lots in the Kanti language. Another example is 100, which is száz in Hungarian and szot in Kanti.
Wow.
So, these might seem like small details,
Yeah.
but they actually bespeak these volumes about the shared history of these languages.
Wow. A simple word like house can unlock a whole history lesson. That's incredible. It's like finding a message in a bottle across continents.
Yeah.
But were the origins of Hungarian always this clear-cut? Were there ever any, debates about its family connections?
You hit on a really interesting point. See, for a long time, there was this big debate among scholars, some people even call it the Ugric-Turkic War, about whether Hungarian was more closely related to, like we've been saying, the Ugric languages of Siberia, like Mansi and Kanti, or if it had stronger ties to Turkic languages, which you find spread out across Central Asia.
Hey, hold on. Ugric-Turkic War. Did things get heated between these linguists? Were there any, dictionary duels?
Thankfully, there were no dictionary duels that we know of, but it was a lively debate, for sure, with scholars on both sides, presenting their evidence and really advocating for their theories. But ultimately, I think the general consensus now leans towards those Uralic origins.
Okay, so it sounds like Hungarian might have picked up some souvenirs on its road trip from Siberia.
Exactly. Think of it like geological strata, right? You have that base layer of Uralic roots, but over time you have these other layers that form as the language interacts with its neighbors, borrowing words, borrowing grammatical features.
It's like Hungarian has a passport full of stamps from all the places it's been. So what kind of linguistic souvenirs are we talking about? Give me some examples.
Well, we can see, for example, from ancient encounters with Iranian languages, words like tehen, which means cow, and tiz, which means 10. And then during those centuries of, basically cohabitation with Turkic speakers, Hungarian picked up words related to things like agriculture and state administration.
It makes sense that they would share words about everyday things like farming. It's like when I went to Italy that one time, and all I came back with was chow and pizza.
Exactly.
But it wasn't just, what did you call them? The Turkic speakers.
The Turkic speakers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, other folks too, right?
You're absolutely right, yeah. Hungarian's linguistic journey didn't end there. It also had these encounters with Slavic languages, borrowing words like tegla for brick and mach for poppy seed. And so all of these borrowed words give us this really fascinating window into the historical and cultural exchanges that have shaped Hungarian over time.
It's kind of beautiful in a way how languages are constantly in contact and influencing each other. Speaking of influences, this reminds me of something I read about a treaty that had a big impact on how widespread Hungarian is today.
You're thinking of the Treaty of Trianon. It was a really significant event in Hungarian history. And while we won't get into the political complexities of it all, it is important to at least acknowledge the way that this particular treaty impacted the geographic distribution of Hungarian speakers.
Right. It's just another piece of the puzzle, showing how historical events can really shake things up in the language world. Okay, so we've established that Hungarian has this incredibly rich and layered past with these roots stretching all the way back to Siberia and influences from all over. But we can't talk about Hungarian without addressing the elephant, or should I say the ridiculously long word, in the room, right?
Yeah, we can't ignore those.
All right, so let's talk about these legendary long words. But before we get into specific examples, can you give us a crash course in how they even make words like that? Is there like a secret button in the Hungarian dictionary that's just like, supersize my word?
It's not quite a supersized button, but it's just as intriguing. They use something called agglutination. Imagine like building a word like a Lego tower. That's what Hungarian does. They stack these suffixes, which are these little units of meaning, onto a base word to create these incredibly specific meanings.
Okay, hold that thought because we're going to dive into the nitty-gritty of agglutination right after this break. Don't go anywhere. Things are about to get even more interesting.
And we are back, ready to jump back into the wonderful world of Hungarian. Before the break, we were talking about agglutination. Like, are we talking linguistic Legos here?
Yeah, it's a really great way to visualize it.
Yeah.
I think, agglutination might sound kind of intimidating, but it's really all about efficiency and precision. So in a lot of languages, you'd use separate words for things like prepositions, articles, verb endings. But Hungarian's like, nope, we're going to streamline this whole process. They pack all that grammatical information into these suffixes that they then just attach to a base word.
So like one word can do the work of like a whole sentence in English.
Yeah, not quite a whole sentence.
Okay.
But you get the idea. Every suffix adds a little layer of meaning, whether it's the tense of a verb or possession or even like the direction of an action.
Okay, I need some examples. Like what about those kinship terms that we mentioned earlier? How do those work?
Perfect example. So yeah, in English we have like brother and sister, and that's kind of it. But Hungarian gets super specific. So you have X for a younger brother, and then you have Béti for an older brother. And it doesn't stop there. They have specific terms for older and younger sisters too, and even distinctions based on the gender of the speaker.
Wow, so family reunions must be like a linguistic minefield. But I see what you mean about the precision. Like each word creates a really, really specific image in your mind.
Precisely. And this attention to detail goes way beyond just family. Like, remember how we talked about Hungarian having those two main words for red?
Oh, yeah. For a color. Like how many ways do you need to say red?
Right.
Refresh my memory on that one.
So you have piros, which is like your more general everyday red. It's often used for like man-made objects.
Okay.
And then you have veros, which tends to describe things you find in nature, like a fiery sunset or the deep red of certain fruits. It kind of carries this more intense, even passionate connotation.
It's like Hungarian has like a built-in thesaurus just for its own words. And I thought choosing between like crimson or scarlet was fancy. This agglutination thing is no joke. Okay, so we've done kinship, we've done colors. Are you ready to like face the ultimate agglutination challenge?
You mean the word that makes language learners tremble in fear?
The one and only, the Mount Everest of Hungarian words?
Yeah,
You know what I'm talking about.
of course.
Lay it on me. You're just making that up. You're messing with me,
I
right?
promise you I am not making that up.
Okay.
But, as with any seemingly insurmountable challenge, it's much less scary when you break it down into manageable parts.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me with your linguistic knowledge.
So this behemoth translates roughly to, for your plural continued behavior as if you could not be desecrated.
Oh, is that all?
It's a mouthful in any language.
Just a tad.
But grammatically speaking, it's really just a bunch of suffixes all strung together,
Yeah.
each one adding a little nuance of meaning to the base word.
So it's long, but there's a method to the madness.
Exactly. There's a logic to it. It's not just a random jumble of letters designed to torture language learners, although it might feel that way sometimes.
It kind of does.
But But the key takeaway here is that Hungarian might seem intimidating at first glance,
Mm.
but once you understand these principles of agglutination, suddenly even the longest words become decodable.
It's like those math equations that make you want to cry.
Right.
But then someone shows you how it works, and you're like, oh, okay. I see what's going on here.
Exactly, exactly. And honestly, that's the beauty of language learning, right? It's those aha moments
Hmm.
where something that seems like an impenetrable code, all of a sudden it's like, boom, the secrets are revealed. And it's not just about memorizing words, but it's about unlocking a whole new way of thinking.
I like it. So we've been talking a lot about building words from the inside out, but I'm curious about the words themselves. Like, what do they tell us about Hungarian culture? Because I have a feeling there's more to this language than just grammar rules and really, really long words.
Absolutely. I mean, even just the way that Hungarians talk about direction gives us a glimpse into their unique worldview. Remember those sun-based compass directions?
Oh, like they have a built-in compass in their language. Remind me how that works again.
Yeah, so imagine like a culture that was so in tune with its environment that even the words for north, south, east, and west come from the sun's position.
I'm just imagining them looking up and being like, well, that's north.
Right. So, for example, north in Hungarian is észak, which literally means where the sun never shines,
Oh, that makes sense.
because it's derived from the word for night, éjszaka.
It's so cool.
Right? It's such a beautiful example of how language reflects a culture's relationship with the natural world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop with directions.
Wait, there's more. Don't leave me hanging. What else is there?
Well, for example, have you ever thought about how many ways we have to say you in English?
You.
Yeah.
That's about it, right? I mean, y'all, but that's a different story for a different day.
Let's just say Hungarians do not take you lightly.
Oh.
They have a four-tiered system of politeness
What?
with different pronouns and even different verb forms, depending on your relationship with the person that you're addressing.
Okay, now that's impressive. 4 different ways to say you. I can barely keep track of which fork to use for salad, but wow, that's fascinating. It seems like every corner we turn with Hungarian, there's like a new surprise waiting.
That's what makes it so captivating. And believe it or not, even with these intricate rules and these like legendary long words, Hungarian also has a surprising amount of flexibility when it comes to sentence structure.
Wait, really? I thought we were all about like strict grammar rules today.
It seems counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But that's the beautiful thing about language. It's full of surprises. While Hungarian does have a basic word order, it's not set in stone. It's what linguists call a topic prominent language.
Okay, time out. What in the linguistic world does topic prominent even mean?
Basically, it means that the order of the words in a sentence is often determined by what the speaker wants to emphasize. Like, what's the main point they're trying to get across?
So it's less about like following a rigid formula and more about arranging the words in a strategic way, kind of like you're setting up a stage and you want the audience to focus on a certain actor or a certain prop.
A perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And this flexibility that we're talking about, it allows for so much more nuance and expressiveness in Hungarian.
Wow, who knew a language could be so complex and so flexible at the same time? It's like the Rubik's Cube of languages, you know, it's challenging, it's intricate, but ultimately, with a little patience, a lot of brain power, you can solve it. And on that note, I think my brain needs a little bit of a break. We'll be back with even more Hungarian insights and a final thought-provoking question right after this.
And we're back. Man, Hungarian is blowing my mind, you guys. So much to unpack here.
It really is a fascinating language.
It is. Okay. So where were we? Oh, yeah. Hungarian totally upends everything we thought we knew about languages.
It really challenges those assumptions, yeah.
It does. Like, we've got these crazy long words, borrowed words from, like, all over the map. But what about the big picture? How would you even describe the overall, like, flavor of Hungarian vocabulary?
It's interesting because you have this base, this core vocabulary that's inherited from its Uralic ancestors, which gives it, like you said, that unique flavor. But then over time, you have these layers of loanwords from those centuries of interaction with Iranian, with Turkic, with Slavic, with German, even English, especially in more recent times. It's like a tapestry, right, woven from all these different colors and textures.
So even though it has all these, like, strict rules about how to build words, it's still been open to like welcoming these new words into the fold.
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, languages are constantly evolving, they're adapting, they're enriching themselves through contact with other languages. Hungarian's a perfect example of that.
Which makes me wonder, like, how many words in our everyday English vocabulary
Yeah.
have like these hidden histories, these secret connections to other languages that we don't even know about? We could do a whole nother deep dive on that.
Yeah, there's an idea. I'd love to dig into that.
Okay, we'll put a pin in it.
Yeah.
But for now, I do want to circle back to something I saw in the research about Hungarian word bushes. And like for a language that's supposed to be so complex, that sounds weirdly adorable.
It does sound adorable, but it's actually a really insightful concept. So basically, a word bush is just a visual representation of how words are related to each other. Imagine like a central root word, kind of like the trunk of a tree, right?
Okay, I'm picturing it.
And then you have these branches sprouting out with all of its derivatives, its compounds, all stemming from that original root.
So like you might start with kez, which means hand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then branching out from there, you'd have like kastio, which is glove, or like
Yeah.
kisfogas, which is handshake. Each one is connected to that original idea of hand.
Exactly. And it just shows how Hungarian uses these prefixes and suffixes, this compounding, to create this whole network of related words. It highlights this like interconnectedness of language. Words don't exist in isolation, but they're part of this like vast web of meaning.
It's like that game we used to play as kids where you connect the dots and it reveals a picture.
Yes.
Except in this case, we're connecting words to reveal this whole linguistic landscape,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
I love that. It's about seeing the patterns, the connections, that underlying logic that governs how language works.
And as we start to wrap up our Hungarian adventure here, I have to say I'm a little sad to see it go. We've only scratched the surface of what makes this language so unique, but it's been quite a ride.
It has. But it's also exciting, right? Because we've seen how Hungarian can really challenge our preconceived notions about what a language can be, its intricacies, its flexibilities, its deep connections to culture and history.
It's so true. It's like this reminder that there's always more to learn. There are always more layers to uncover, even when we think we've got something figured out. And that sometimes the things that seem the most complex, like those Hungarian words, often have this like elegant logic to them. It's just a matter of understanding them.
Beautifully said. I couldn't agree more.
Well, then it's time for our final thought-provoking question, something to leave our listeners with as they continue their own linguistic journeys. What you got for us today?
All right, so we've talked about this, right? About Hungarian's complex word formation, and then on the other hand, its flexible word order. These two things that seem like they might contradict each other, but they coexist beautifully in this language. So here's the question. Do you think this makes Hungarian inherently more expressive than languages with stricter word order or, a simpler morphology? Or does every language, in its own way, offer a unique set of tools for conveying meaning and nuance?
Ooh, that is a good one. It's like that old debate. Does a painter with more colors on their palette necessarily create a more expressive painting? I think it comes down to the artist, or in this case, the speaker.
Absolutely. Language is a tool, and its expressive potential lies in how it's used.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off and let our listeners ponder that very question. If this deep dive piqued your interest even a little bit, go out there and explore. Pick up a phrasebook, listen to some music, connect with Hungarian speakers online. You never know what linguistic treasures you might discover. Until next time, happy exploring, everyone.